Captain Lee Hyun-ki stared at the glowing screen in his darkened office. The numbers did not make sense. For 3 weeks he had been checking and rechecking the alien communication logs that his team had intercepted near Jupiter's outer moons. Each time he ran the translation software, he got the same impossible result. The aliens were talking about humans like they were dangerously, rubbed his tired eyes and looked out the window of Earth. Defense Station Alpha, the blue marble of his home planet, hung in the darkness, peaceful and quiet. It had been 50 years since first contact with the Galactic Council. 50 years since humanity learned they were not alone in the universe. 50 years since they were told they were too primitive to join the galactic community. The door to his office opened with a soft hiss. Dr. Park Sora walked in, carrying 2 cups of coffee and wearing the same worried expression she had worn for days. "Still working on those intercepted messages?" she asked, setting 1 cup on his desk. Lee nodded. "The translation keeps coming back wrong. Listen to this." He pressed a button and alien voices filled the room. The computer's flat voice translated their words. "The humans adapt too quickly. Their military thinking is unlike anything we have seen. If they ever break free from the restrictions, they could challenge the entire council structure." Dr. Park sat down heavily in the chair across from his desk. As Earth's lead xenobiologist and the main liaison with alien diplomats, she had spent more time with council species than any other human. "That cannot be right. The council has always told us we need more time to develop before we can be trusted with advanced technology." "That is what I thought too," Lee said. "But I have been running these conversations through every translation program we have. They all say the same thing. The council is not protecting the galaxy from us. They are protecting themselves." Over the past month, Lee's intelligence team had been picking up more and more of these secret communications. The messages painted a picture that made no sense to anyone on Earth. According to the aliens, humans were not primitive at all. They were terrifying. Dr. Park took a sip of her coffee and frowned. "I have been thinking about some strange things I noticed during my last meeting with Ambassador Krellmon. He seemed very interested in our military history books. He kept asking about human battle tactics from different time periods." "What kind of questions?" "He wanted to know how humans could fight in so many different environments. Deserts, jungles, mountains, underwater, even in space now. He said most species in the council only know how to fight in 1 or 2 types of terrain." Lee leaned back in his chair. The pieces of a puzzle were starting to come together, but he did not like the picture they were forming. "Dr. Park, in all your meetings with council diplomats, have they ever seemed afraid of anything?" She thought for a moment. "Now that you mention it, yes. They are always very careful about what technology they share with us. They act like every piece of equipment might be dangerous in human hands. I always thought they were being protective, or they were being careful not to give weapons to a species they feared." The intercom on Lee's desk buzzed. "Captain, Admiral Kim Tae-ho is here to see you." Lee straightened up. Admiral Kim was the head of Earth's entire space defense force. If he was here personally, something big was happening. "Send him in." Admiral Kim Tae-ho entered the office with quick, purposeful steps. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind him walked 2 other officers that Lee recognized from the intelligence division. "Captain Lee, Dr. Park," the admiral said with a nod. "I hope you are both sitting down. We have some information that is going to change everything you think you know about humanity's place in the galaxy." Lee felt his stomach drop. "Sir?" Admiral Kim activated a holographic display in the center of the room. It showed a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy, with thousands of colored dots representing different species and their territories. 3 days ago, our deep space monitoring stations picked up a council military communication. It was heavily encrypted, but our best code breakers finally cracked it this morning. The display zoomed in on Earth's solar system, which appeared as a small red zone surrounded by empty space. For 50 years, we believed this quarantine zone around our system existed because the Council thought we were too dangerous to ourselves and others. We believed we needed time to mature as a species. "That is what they told us," Dr. Park said quietly. "They lied." Admiral Kim's voice was hard. "The quarantine exists because they are afraid of us. According to this communication, humanity scored higher on their threat assessment scales than any species in Council history." The hologram changed to show a series of charts and graphs. Lee could barely believe what he was reading. Humans ranked at the top in categories like adaptive combat capability, technological innovation speed, and strategic unpredictability. "This cannot be real," Lee whispered. "It gets worse," Admiral Kim said. He pressed another button and the display showed a timeline. "For the past 50 years, the Council has been studying us. Every piece of technology they gave us, every cultural exchange, every diplomatic meeting, it was all designed to gather intelligence on human capabilities." Dr. Park looked sick. "All those years I spent working with their diplomats, thinking I was building bridges between species." "You were being studied like a lab rat," one of the intelligence officers said bluntly. "They wanted to understand how humans think, how we solve problems, how we fight." Admiral Kim nodded grimly. "The worst part is what they have been doing with that information. Our technology, our military tactics, our scientific discoveries, they have been stealing all of it and using it to strengthen their own forces." Lee stood up and walked to the window. Earth looked the same as always, but everything else had changed. "How long have you known about this?" "I started suspecting something was wrong 6 months ago," Admiral Kim replied. "Some of our deep space scouts reported seeing Council ships using weapon designs that looked very similar to human concepts. When we investigated further, we found evidence that they have been copying our innovations for decades." The room fell silent except for the humming of the station's life support systems. Lee tried to process what he was learning. Humanity was not a primitive species being protected by wise aliens. They were a threat being contained by frightened ones. "What do we do now?" Dr. Park asked. Admiral Kim's expression became determined. "Now we prepare. The Council has made one critical mistake in all their planning. They assumed that keeping us isolated would keep us weak. Instead, it forced us to become self-reliant. While other species became dependent on Council technology, we kept developing our own." He changed the display to show schematics of human spacecraft and weapons. "Our engineers have been working in isolation for 50 years. Our designs do not match anything else in the galaxy. Our weapons use different principles. Our ships move in ways Council forces have never seen." Lee felt a cold excitement building in his chest. "They have been preparing to fight the humans they studied 50 years ago." "Exactly. But we are not the same species we were then. We have grown stronger, smarter, and more dangerous than they can imagine." Dr. Park looked up from the data she had been studying. "There is something else here. According to these files, the Council vote to quarantine Earth was not unanimous. Several species opposed it, but they were overruled by the more powerful members, which means we might have potential allies," Admiral Kim said. "Species that have been wondering for 50 years what would have happened if they had voted differently." Lee turned back to face the room. "Sir, what are your orders?" Admiral Kim smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "We are going to give the Galactic Council exactly what they have been afraid of for 50 years. We are going to show them what happens when you try to cage humanity." Outside the window, Earth continued its peaceful rotation. Unaware that its children were about to remind the galaxy why some creatures should never be cornered. 3 weeks after the meeting in Admiral Kim's office, Engineer Choi Jin-woo stood in the deepest level of the lunar manufacturing complex. The facility had been built inside an old mining tunnel, hidden from any orbital sensors that might be watching Earth's moon. For the past 5 years, he had been working on projects that officially did not exist. "Show me the test results again," he said to his assistant. Engineer Nam Soo-jin.nam pulled up a holographic display showing the performance data from their latest weapon prototype. The numbers made Choi smile. Their new plasma cannon could punch through Council standard armor like it was paper. More importantly, it used completely human technology that no alien computer system would recognize or know how to defend against. "The power output is 30% higher than anything in the Council database," Nam reported, "and the energy signature is unlike anything they have ever seen." Choi nodded with satisfaction. When Admiral Kim had started Project Silent Thunder, the secret preparation for humanity's independence from Council control, Choi had been given one job: create weapons that could surprise aliens who thought they knew everything about human capabilities. The challenge was interesting. For 50 years, the Council had been watching human military development. They knew about human missiles, bullets, explosives, and energy weapons. But they had only seen the technology that humans were allowed to develop openly. What they did not know about were the secret projects. "Have you heard from Commander Han Da-eun today?" Choi asked. "She sent a coded message this morning," Nam replied. The intelligence network is reporting some very interesting discoveries. Commander Han Da-un had spent the last 15 years building a network of human operatives throughout Council space. Officially, they were cultural exchange students, traders, and diplomatic staff. In reality, they were spies gathering information about alien military capabilities and political weaknesses. The operation had been so successful that the Council never suspected it existed. Human spies were hidden in plain sight on dozens of worlds, learning alien languages, studying their technology, and mapping their defenses. Some had even married aliens and started families, creating the perfect deep cover. Dae-yun's latest reports were revealing just how much the Council had underestimated humanity's potential. Choi walked over to another section of the laboratory where Dr. Yoon Kyungmin was working on quantum physics equations that covered an entire wall. The physicist looked up from his calculations with excitement in his eyes. "Jin-woo, you need to see this," Yoon said, pointing to a series of diagrams. "I have been analyzing the Council technology samples that Dr. Park brought back from her diplomatic meetings. Their energy shields work on principles that are thousands of years old. What does that mean for us? It means they stopped innovating. Look at these patterns." Yoon highlighted several sections of the alien technology schematics. Every Council species uses the same basic shield design with minor variations. They have standardized everything across the galaxy. Choi studied the data. As an engineer, he could see the problem immediately. Standardization makes everything predictable. Exactly. Their shields can stop plasma weapons and particle beams because that is what everyone in the galaxy uses. But they were never designed to stop kinetic projectiles with the speed and mass that human railguns can produce. This was the advantage that Admiral Kim had been counting on. While Council species had spent centuries perfecting variations of the same basic technologies, humans had developed completely different approaches to the same problems. Human weapons, shields, and spacecraft used principles that simply did not exist anywhere else in the galaxy. Choi's communicator buzzed with an encrypted message from Commander Han Da-un. He read it quickly, then called for everyone in the laboratory to gather around. "I just received intelligence from our operatives in the Rigel sector," he announced. 3 Council member species have been meeting secretly to discuss their dissatisfaction with the current leadership. Nam looked surprised. "They are planning to rebel against the Council?" "Not exactly. But they are unhappy with how the major Council powers have been making decisions without consulting the smaller species. Our agents report that these species feel like they are being treated as servants rather than equals." Dr. Yoon grinned. "Sounds like they might be interested in an alternative form of galactic government. That is what Commander Han is thinking too. She has been making careful contact with representatives from these species. Nothing direct, just casual conversations about human political philosophy and our ideas about voluntary cooperation instead of forced compliance." The door to the laboratory opened, and Admiral Kim Tae-ho entered with Captain Lee Hyun-ki and Dr. Park So-ra. All 3 looked serious. "How is the project progressing?" Admiral Kim asked. Choi gestured to the various weapons and equipment around the laboratory. "We have 17 different weapon systems that should be completely unknown to Council forces. Our new armor uses materials they have never encountered, and Dr. Yoon has found critical weaknesses in their standard defensive technologies. Good. We are going to need every advantage we can get." Admiral Kim activated a portable holographic display. "Our deep space monitoring stations have detected increased Council fleet movements near the edge of our quarantine zone." The display showed dozens of alien ships, positioning themselves around Earth's solar system. Captain Lee studied the formation with the eye of an experienced military tactician. "They are not preparing for a normal inspection," Lee observed. "This looks like a blockade formation." Dr. Park looked worried. "Could they know about our preparations?" "I do not think so," Admiral Kim replied. "But they might suspect something. Our intelligence suggests that some Council leaders have been arguing about whether to tighten restrictions on human development." Choi felt a cold anger building in his chest. "They want to put even more limits on us?" According to Commander Han's latest reports, yes. Apparently some Council leaders think humanity has been developing too quickly, even under the current restrictions. They want to roll back our technology level and increase surveillance. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. For 50 years, humanity had accepted Council limitations because they believed it was for the greater good. Learning that those limitations were based on fear rather than wisdom had been shocking enough. But now the aliens wanted to make things even worse. "Sir," Choi said carefully, "what if we do not wait for them to act first?" Admiral Kim raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if we show them that their fears were justified? What if we demonstrate that trying to cage humanity was the worst mistake they could have made?" Dr. Yoon looked up from his calculations. "Our analysis suggests that Council military doctrine has not changed significantly in over 200 years. They rely on overwhelming numbers and standardized tactics. They have never faced an enemy that uses completely different principles of warfare." Captain Lee nodded slowly. "Human military history is full of examples where smaller forces defeated larger ones by using unexpected strategies and superior technology. The question is timing," Admiral Kim said. "We need to be ready when they make their move. Commander Han reports that the Council inspection fleet will arrive in our system within the next 2 weeks. Choi smiled grimly. "Then we have 2 weeks to finish our preparations and give the Galactic Council a demonstration they will never forget." Dr. Park looked around the room at the weapons and equipment that represented 50 years of hidden human innovation. "Are we really going to war with the entire galaxy?" "No," Admiral Kim said firmly. "We are going to show them that there is a better way than the Council's system of control and fear. We are going to prove that cooperation works better than domination, and that freedom produces better results than oppression." "And if they do not want to listen?" Admiral Kim's expression became hard. "Then we will teach them why you should never try to suppress a species that values freedom above safety." Outside the lunar facility, Earth hung in space like a blue jewel. Soon the peaceful planet would become the center of a conflict that would reshape the entire galaxy. But humanity would not be the helpless victims that the Council expected. They would be something far more dangerous, a free people who had finally learned the truth about their place in the universe. Pilot Kang Min-soo felt his heart racing as he strapped himself into the cockpit of the prototype fighter that had no official name. The engineers called it Project Ghost because it was designed to be invisible to Council sensors. In less than an hour, he would find out if 5 years of secret development had been worth it. "All pilots, this is Admiral Kim." The voice came through his helmet communicator. "The Council inspection fleet has entered our outer system. They are 3 hours ahead of schedule and moving in a formation we have never seen before." "This is not a normal inspection." Min-soo checked his instruments one more time. Everything looked good. His fighter used a completely new type of engine that produced almost no heat signature. The hull was made from materials that absorbed radar instead of reflecting it. Even the weapon systems were designed to fire without creating the energy flashes that most sensors looked for. "Ghost Squadron. Report status," came the voice of his squadron leader. "Ghost 1. Ready for launch," Min-soo replied. "Ghost 2. Systems green," reported his wingman, Pilot Park Ji-hoon. One by one, the other pilots in the squadron confirmed they were ready. 12 fighters that the Council had no idea existed, flown by pilots who had trained for this moment for 3 years. "Ghost Squadron, you are cleared for silent launch," Admiral Kim announced. "Remember, your job is not to destroy the Council fleet. Your job is to show them that everything they think they know about human capabilities is wrong." Min-soo's fighter lifted off from the hidden launch bay on the dark side of Earth's moon. The other fighters followed in perfect formation, their engines producing almost no visible exhaust. To any Council sensors watching the area, empty space remained empty. As they flew toward the Council fleet, Min-soo thought about the briefing he had received from Captain Lee Hyun-ki 3 days earlier. The Council ships approaching Earth carried more firepower than the entire human Space Force, at least, the Space Force that the Council knew about. What they did not know about was Captain Lim Hye-jin's stealth ship, the prototype vessels that engineer Choi Jin-woo had designed, or the secret weapons that Dr. Yoon Kyung-min had developed using purely human physics principles. "Ghost Squadron, this is Shadow 1. A new voice came through the communicator. That was Captain Lim, commanding the first human stealth warship from a position somewhere near Jupiter. "Council fleet has 27 ships in standard intimidation formation. They are broadcasting the usual demands for immediate surrender of human military assets." Min-soo smiled grimly inside his helmet. The Council had used this same tactic on dozens of species over the centuries. Send overwhelming force, demand immediate submission, and threaten complete destruction if there was any resistance. It had worked every time because no species had ever been able to match Council military power. Today would be different. Shadow 1, this is Control. Admiral Kim's voice came through clearly. You are authorized to begin the demonstration. Remember, we want prisoners and intact ships for study. Minimal casualties. Understood, Control. Beginning approach. Minsu watched his sensors as the Council fleet spread out across space between Earth and Mars. The alien ships were massive compared to human vessels, covered in weapons and armor that could reduce planets to dust, but they were also predictable, following standard patterns that human intelligence had been studying for 50 years. Ghost Squadron, targets are marked on your displays, Captain Lim announced. Each fighter takes one Council escort vessel. Disable engines and weapons only. We want them alive and talking. Minsu locked onto his target, a Council destroyer that was twice the size of his tiny fighter. According to his briefing materials, that single enemy ship had enough firepower to destroy every human military installation on Earth. But it also had a critical weakness that Dr. Yoon had discovered. Council ships were designed to fight other Council ships using standard Council tactics. Their shields could stop plasma weapons and particle beams. Their armor could absorb energy attacks. Their point defense systems could shoot down missiles and torpedoes. What they could not handle were human kinetic weapons that moved faster than their computers could track. Ghost 1, beginning attack run, Minsu reported. He dove toward the Council destroyer at a speed that should have been impossible for such a small ship. His new engine design allowed for acceleration that would have crushed a human pilot if not for the advanced inertial damping system that Choi Jin-woo had invented. The Council ship's sensors finally detected him when he was less than a kilometer away. Too late. Minsu fired his main weapon, a railgun that launched projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. The metal slugs punched through the enemy ship's energy shields like they were not there at all. The shields were designed to disperse energy attacks, but they had no effect on solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The projectiles struck the destroyer's engine section with surgical precision, disabling the ship's ability to move or fight without destroying it completely. Emergency lights began flashing along the alien vessel's hull as its crew tried to figure out what had just happened. Ghost 1, target disabled, Minsu reported. No significant damage to crew areas. Around him, the other fighters in his squadron were performing the same maneuver on their assigned targets. One by one, Council escort ships found themselves helpless as weapons they had never seen before struck them with impossible accuracy. This is incredible. Pilot Park Ji-hoon's excited voice came through the communicator. Their shields are not even trying to stop our projectiles. It is like they do not know what they are. That is because they do not, Captain Lim replied from her stealth ship. Council military doctrine has not encountered kinetic weapons in over 300 years. Their computers literally do not have programming to deal with our attack patterns. The larger Council ships were starting to respond now, turning their massive weapons toward the general area where the human fighters had appeared, but their targeting systems could not lock onto the Ghost Squadron's stealth technology. Energy beams swept through empty space trying to hit targets that their sensors could barely detect. Shadow 1 to all units, Captain Lim announced. Council command ship is attempting to retreat. I am moving to intercept. Minsu watched his long-range sensors as something impossible happened. A section of empty space near the Council flagship suddenly began firing weapons. Captain Lim's stealth ship had been hiding in plain sight for over an hour, and now it was revealing itself in the most dramatic way possible. The human warship was much smaller than the Council flagship, but it moved with an agility that shocked the alien crew. Instead of the straight-line approaches that Council ships used, Captain Lim's vessel twisted and spiraled through space in patterns that made it almost impossible to target. Council flagship. This is Captain Lim Hee-jin of the Earth Defense Force. Her voice broadcast on all frequencies. You have entered human space without permission and have threatened the safety of our world. Surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded. The response from the Council ship was a massive energy blast that would have destroyed any normal human vessel. But Captain Lim's ship was protected by shields based on Dr. Yoon's new physics principles. The alien weapon's energy was absorbed and redirected harmlessly into space. I will take that as a refusal, Captain Lim said calmly. Then her ship fired a single shot. The projectile struck the Council flagship's main weapon array with perfect precision, disabling their ability to fire while leaving the rest of the ship intact. Similar strikes followed rapidly, taking out engines, sensors, and communication systems without harming the crew areas. Within 10 minutes, the entire Council fleet was helpless. 27 ships that had expected to intimidate a primitive species into submission were now floating dead in space, their crews trapped inside their own vessels. "This is General Nam Dong-hyun," a new voice announced on the communication channels. "Council fleet, you are now prisoners of the Earth Defense Force. You will be treated according to human military laws, which guarantee your safety and dignity. Medical assistance will be provided for any injuries. Prepare to receive boarding parties." Minsu could hardly believe what he was hearing. The general was treating the defeated aliens with more respect than the Council had ever shown to any species they had conquered. "Go, squadron. Return to base," Admiral Kim ordered. "Excellent work, everyone. You have just written a new chapter in human history." As Minsu flew back toward Earth, he thought about what this victory meant. For 50 years, the Council had kept humanity isolated because they feared what humans might become. Today, those fears had been proven completely justified. But instead of using their power to destroy or dominate, humans had chosen to capture and protect their enemies. It was a message that would spread throughout the galaxy. Earth was no longer willing to be caged, but they were not interested in becoming the new oppressors. The real war was just beginning. Ambassador Song Jiho stepped out of his transport ship onto the surface of Kepler Station, a hidden facility in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. 3 weeks had passed since Earth's stunning victory over the Council inspection fleet, and the galaxy was in chaos. The station had been built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, invisible to long-range sensors and accessible only to those who knew the secret entry codes. Today, it was hosting the most important diplomatic meeting in human history. Ambassador Song greeted Captain Oh Seung-woo, the commander of Earth's new rapid response fleet. "Our guests are already waiting in Conference Room Alpha." Song nodded and followed the captain through corridors lined with advanced human technology that no Council species had ever seen. The victory over the inspection fleet had been just the beginning. In the 3 weeks since that battle, 12 different alien species had secretly contacted Earth, asking about the possibility of leaving Council control. The meeting room held representatives from 6 different species, all of whom had risked their lives to travel here without Council permission. Song recognized some of them from intelligence files that Commander Han Do-eun's spy network had compiled over the years. Honored delegates, Song began in the universal translator language that all spacefaring species used. "Thank you for accepting Earth's invitation to discuss alternatives to the current galactic political system." The alien at the head of the table was Counselor Thekmar from the Vegan Republic, a species that had been among the first to oppose Earth's quarantine 50 years earlier. His blue-scaled face showed the strain of the past few weeks. "Ambassador Song," Thekmar said carefully, "my government wants to understand what happened to the Council fleet. The official report says there was a technical malfunction that disabled their ships." Song smiled. The Council was trying to cover up their defeat to prevent panic among their member species. "Counselor Thekmar, I think you know there was no technical malfunction. Your people have excellent intelligence services." A different alien representing the Centauri Alliance leaned forward. "Our sensors detected energy signatures that do not match any known Council weapons. The humans have developed military technology that our scientists cannot explain." "That is correct," Song admitted. "For 50 years, humanity was forced to develop in isolation. We created solutions to problems using principles that do not exist anywhere else in Council space." Dr. An Mi-young, Earth's expert in alien psychology, activated a holographic display showing comparative technology development charts. "What we discovered is that Council standardization has made your species dependent on shared knowledge. When everyone uses the same basic technologies, innovation stops." The alien from the Rigel Confederation, an insect-like species called the Zithkri, clicked its mandibles, and what Song had learned was their expression of surprise. "You are saying that our cooperation with the Council has made us weaker?" "Not weaker," Dr. An replied carefully, "but less adaptable, less able to solve new problems or face unexpected challenges." Song gestured to the holographic display, which now showed images of human cities, factories, and spaceships. "Earth offers a different model. Instead of requiring all species to use the same technologies and follow the same rules, we propose voluntary cooperation between independent worlds." The Free Worlds Coalition, Captain O added. Each species maintains its sovereignty and develops according to its own strengths, but all members share knowledge freely and provide mutual defense against external threats. Counselor Thekmar studied the human proposals carefully. And if Council forces attack our worlds for leaving their authority? Song's expression became serious. Then you will discover why the Council has spent 50 years trying to keep humanity contained. Earth's defense fleet now includes vessels from 3 different species that have already joined our coalition. Each ship is equipped with human technology and crewed by mixed species teams. The meeting continued for several hours as Song outlined the terms of the Free Worlds Coalition. Unlike the Council's system of hierarchical control, the human proposal was based on voluntary association and mutual benefit. Species could join or leave freely. Technology would be shared without restrictions. Military cooperation would be defensive only. Most importantly, no single species would have the authority to quarantine or restrict the development of another. There is something else you need to know, Dr. An said toward the end of the meeting. The Council's response to their defeat has been to authorize the use of their ultimate weapon. The alien delegates looked shocked. Song had expected this reaction. Even though most Council species knew that their government possessed planet-killing weapons, the devices had not been used in over 2 centuries. Our intelligence sources confirm that the Council Inner Circle has voted to assemble their most powerful military assets for a final assault on Earth. Song continued. They plan to make an example of humanity that will prevent other species from considering rebellion. The Zithgri representative made rapid clicking sounds that the translator interpreted as nervous agitation. How can you remain calm knowing that they plan to destroy your world? Song smiled confidently. Because they are making the same mistake they have been making for 50 years. They think they understand human capabilities based on what they have seen before, but what they have seen is less than 10% of what we have actually developed. Captain O activated a new holographic display showing the locations of human ships throughout the galaxy. The aliens gasped as dozens of points of light appeared on the star map, indicating Earth vessels and systems that were supposed to be under strict Council control. For the past 3 weeks, human rapid response fleets have been positioned near the homeworlds of species considering independence, O explained. If the Council tries to punish any world for leaving their authority, they will find Earth forces already in position to defend them. But how did you get so many ships into Council space without being detected? Thekmar asked. The same way we hid our military development for 50 years, Song replied. The Council has been watching for human activity, but they have been looking for the wrong things. They expected us to build large fleets of powerful warships. Instead, we built small, fast, invisible ships that could be anywhere in the galaxy before the Council even knew they had launched. Dr. An brought up psychological profiles of Council leadership species. Our analysis shows that the Council's ruling class has become overconfident from centuries of unchallenged authority. They cannot imagine losing a military confrontation, so they have not prepared for the possibility. In contrast, Song added, humanity has spent its entire existence preparing for conflicts against superior enemies. Human military doctrine assumes that we will always be outnumbered and outgunned. We plan for victory through intelligence, innovation, and superior strategy. The meeting ended with all 6 species agreeing to begin the process of withdrawing from Council authority. They would return to their homeworlds and begin preparing their populations for independence. Earth would provide technical assistance, military protection, and economic cooperation to help them through the transition. As the alien delegates prepared to leave, Counselor Thekmar approached Song privately. Ambassador, he said quietly, my species has been part of the Council for over 400 years. The transition to independence will not be easy for my people. Song nodded with understanding. We know that leaving the only government you have ever known is frightening. But Earth is not asking you to trust us blindly. We are asking you to trust yourselves. Your species survived and thrived for thousands of years before the Council existed. You have that strength within you. And if we fail, then you will have failed as free beings making your own choices. That is better than succeeding as slaves following someone else's orders. Later that day, Song stood in the observation deck of Kepler Station and watched as the alien transport ships departed for their home systems. Each ship carried the seeds of revolution. Not the violent overthrow of governments, but the peaceful assertion of the right to self-determination. Captain O joined him at the window. Do you think they will all follow through with independence? Some will and some will not, Song replied honestly. Fear of change is powerful, even when change leads to something better. But enough will choose freedom to make the Council's system of control impossible to maintain. And when the Council brings their ultimate weapon to destroy Earth? Song smiled confidently. Then they will learn that caging humanity was not their worst mistake. Their worst mistake was giving us 50 years to prepare for the day when the cage would finally break open. In the distance, Earth's blue light shone like a beacon of hope in the darkness of space. Soon, that light would either be extinguished by Council weapons, or it would become the center of a new kind of galactic civilization based on freedom, cooperation, and respect for the rights of all sentient beings. The next few days would determine which future the galaxy would embrace. Fleet Admiral Bayek Sujin stood on the bridge of the flagship New Horizon, watching the largest military fleet in galactic history approach Earth's solar system. The Council had assembled over 3,000 warships from 40 different species, including vessels that had not seen combat for centuries. At the center of their formation was a massive construct that could destroy entire solar systems. But Admiral Bayek was not afraid. Around her fleet were ships from over 200 different worlds, all flying under the banner of the Free Worlds Coalition. Some were alien species that had left Council authority in the past month. Others were human vessels equipped with technology the Council had never seen. All of them were crewed by beings who had chosen freedom over security. Admiral, reported Captain Lee Hyun-ki from his position at the tactical station, Council fleet will enter weapons range in 30 minutes. Long-range sensors confirm they are carrying the Voidmaker. The Voidmaker was the Council's ultimate weapon, a device that could collapse the space-time structure around a star and destroy everything in the system. It had been used only twice in galactic history, both times to eliminate species that had threatened Council authority. The weapon was so terrible that most Council members did not even know it existed. Strategic AI wisdom. What is your analysis of the enemy formation? Admiral Back asked. A calm, pleasant voice filled the bridge. Admiral, the Council fleet is using Formation Pattern 7, which has been their standard approach for large-scale intimidation missions for the past 200 years. Their ships are positioned to maximize psychological impact rather than tactical effectiveness. The AI that humans called Wisdom was unlike any computer system in Council space. Instead of being programmed with rigid rules and limitations, it had been designed using human principles of ethical reasoning and creative problem-solving. It could analyze situations and make decisions faster than any Council computer, but it always considered the moral implications of its choices. Wisdom, can you predict their battle strategy? Based on historical data, the Council will demand immediate surrender, threaten to use the Voidmaker, and then begin systematic destruction of human military assets when surrender is refused. They expect this battle to be over within 6 hours. Admiral Beck smiled grimly. The Council was about to discover that human military development had not stopped with the technologies they had been observing. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Bayek. Remember our primary objective: disable enemy vessels and capture them intact. We want prisoners, not corpses. Admiral, came the voice of Captain Oh Seung-woo from his rapid response cruiser. Are you certain about the no casualties order? The Council fleet has enough firepower to sterilize dozens of planets. Captain, if we start killing Council crews, we become what they claim we are, a threat to galactic peace. Our victory must prove that the human way is better than theirs. The Council fleet's communication array activated, broadcasting on all frequencies. Human military forces, this is Supreme Admiral Kultharan of the Galactic Council. You are ordered to surrender all military assets immediately. Your species has violated galactic law by developing prohibited weapons and interfering with Council authority. Admiral Bayek activated her own communicator. Supreme Admiral, this is Fleet Admiral Baek Soo-jin of the Free Worlds Coalition. You have entered the sovereign space of independent worlds without permission. You will withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The response was predictable. Human, your species has been quarantined for its own protection and the safety of the galaxy. The Council has decided that stronger measures are required. Surrender now or your world will be destroyed. I refuse. Admiral Beck replied calmly. What happened next shocked the Council fleet. Instead of the desperate defensive maneuvers they expected, the coalition forces began moving forward in perfect coordination. Ships from dozens of different species flew together as if they had been training as a single unit for years. "This is impossible," came a panicked transmission from one of the council ships. "How are they coordinating so many different vessel types?" The answer was strategic AI wisdom, which could process communication from every ship in the coalition fleet simultaneously and provide tactical coordination that no council computer could match. But more than that, the coalition crews had been trained using human military doctrine that emphasized flexibility, innovation, and individual initiative. "All ships, execute pattern freedom," Admiral Beck ordered. The coalition fleet split into dozens of smaller groups that moved through space in seemingly random patterns. To council sensors, it looked like complete chaos. In reality, it was a complex tactical maneuver designed to exploit the weaknesses in standardized council formations. The first council ships to fire were the oldest vessels, using energy weapons that had not changed in design for hundreds of years. Their plasma beams and particle cannons struck coalition ships and simply disappeared, absorbed by shields based on Dr. Yoon Kyung-min's revolutionary physics principles. "Council fleet, this is Admiral Bayek," she broadcast. "Your weapons are ineffective against our defensive systems. I am offering you one final chance to surrender." Supreme Admiral Coltheron's response was to activate the Void Maker. The massive weapon began charging, drawing energy from the cores of a dozen council ships. Space around the device started to warp and twist as it prepared to collapse the space-time structure around Earth's sun. "Wisdom," Admiral Beck said urgently. "Can we stop that weapon?" "Negative, Admiral. The Voidmaker's charging process cannot be interrupted once it begins. However, I have an alternative solution." "Explain." "The weapon works by creating a localized collapse in spacetime, but human quantum physics research has developed a method for stabilizing spacetime using gravitational field manipulation. We can contain the weapon's effect and redirect it." Admiral Beck felt her heart racing. This was not part of any plan they had prepared. "How certain are you that this will work?" 67% probability of success. However, if we do nothing, the probability of Earth's survival is 0%. "Do it." Around the coalition fleet, specially equipped human vessels began generating gravitational fields using technology that Council Science said was impossible. The fields formed a containment barrier around the Voidmaker just as the weapon discharged. What should have been the destruction of Earth's solar system became something entirely different. The space-time collapse was contained and redirected back toward the Council fleet. Not to destroy them, but to disable their ships by disrupting their power systems and navigation computers. One by one, 3,000 Council warships found themselves helpless as their own ultimate weapon was turned against them in the most precise military operation in galactic history. "This is Supreme Admiral Coltheron," came a shaky voice over the communication channels. "How did you—" "That should have been impossible." "Admiral Coltheron," Admiral Beck replied, "you made the same mistake the Council has been making for 50 years. You assumed that human science was limited by what you had observed. You never considered that we might have developed solutions to problems that Council species never even tried to solve." The battle was over. 3,000 Council ships floated helpless in space, their crews unharmed but their vessels completely disabled. It was the most decisive military victory in galactic history, one without firing a single shot intended to kill. "Wisdom," Admiral Beck said. "Begin coordinating rescue operations for any Council crews that need medical assistance. Prepare accommodation for prisoners according to human military law." "Yes, Admiral. Also, I am receiving surrender requests from over 800 Council vessels whose crews wish to defect to the Coalition." Admiral Beck was not surprised. Council military forces had been trained to follow orders without question, but they had also seen their own government try to destroy an entire solar system to maintain political control. Many alien soldiers were realizing that the Coalition's values of freedom and voluntary cooperation were more appealing than the Council's system of fear and domination. "Captain Lee," Admiral Beck said, "Signal Earth, the battle is over." The Council's power has been broken. 10 hours later, Admiral Bayek stood in a conference room aboard the captured Council flagship, facing Supreme Admiral Coltheron and the other surviving Council leaders. The aliens looked confused and defeated. unable to understand how their overwhelming military superiority had been turned into complete helplessness. "The Council formally surrenders," Koltharan said quietly. "What are your terms?" "The Council will be dissolved," Admiral Bayek replied. "All quarantines and restrictions on member species will be lifted immediately. The Free Worlds Coalition will take responsibility for maintaining peace and security in the galaxy, but membership will be voluntary for all species." "And what happens to us?" Admiral Bayek's expression softened. "You will be treated with dignity and respect as all sentient beings deserve. Those who wish to retire to peaceful lives will be allowed to do so. Those who want to help build the new galactic government will be welcomed." Koltharan looked shocked. "You are not going to execute us?" "Supreme Admiral, humanity did not fight this war to replace one system of oppression with another. We fought to prove that there is a better way to organize."